music time.
Wrong
Wait,
podcast.
wrong podcast.
Wait, I
Is Ryan going to do the intro music this time?
You want to secure your assets.
We can crack the wallet.
Oh, we've done it before.
We've got rigs, character adversary, attribution mode.
With our private keys combined.
Building some kind of blockchain super weapon.
There's just a number of vulnerabilities that are in the smart contracts.
Math. It's probably secure.
They all secretly mine cryptocurrency.
What coin can I trust? Which one is cryptographically secure? Don't roll your own crypto. CoinSec Podcast.
Hey, welcome to the CoinSec Podcast. We're here for episode 54.
Yeah. Almost. Yeah, we're gonna hit 100 this year. I know it.
It's gonna happen. We're gonna, you know what? Even if it's like the last week of the year, and we pump out like 10 episodes.
We could just skip some episodes and not tell anyone.
We could do like micro episodes for each individual hack. We're gonna make it happen. We'll do like deep dives into each one. Well, welcome to the CoinSec Podcast again. This is episode 54. If you are joining us today on the live stream, jump into our Discord to chat with us and ask any questions you have. We are going to be living in the chat channel in Discord today, where we will be answering any questions. And if you have any sort of feedback, or whatever, that's the place to do it. Also, I'm going to post the show notes over there. So if you want to follow along, you can grab the show notes for today. And so that if you're listening later on in the podcast, that's coinsecpodcast.com. And we post the show notes to all the different stories that we talk about throughout the show. So it's a good place, if you want to just kind of see all the articles, get a quick look at all the different stories that we've talked about over the last week. It's not. Are we not live? It says.
I don't see it on YouTube yet.
Something get hung up. Should I end stream?
Are you seeing that we're live on your control?
It says end stream. Uh-oh. More technical difficulties. It says live. It says
It's
2
the
minutes.
internet.
It says live. Here, let me check on another system.
I looked on two computers and I do not have
Weird.
it.
That's not good. Yeah, it's not showing up live. Okay.
Is it like unlisted
rewind.
or private before you cancel anything?
Oh.
All right, this episode 54. We're done. Good job, everyone.
Yeah. All right, on to 55.
You know what? It is private. Oops. Here, so I wonder if I just
make it
switch it.
public and it should still hold. Just don't end
Let's
it.
see what happens. All right, I'm gonna hit public. Okay, are we live now?
Yeah.
Let's see. It
Oh,
says
I see
Oh yeah,
someone.
we are.
Yay!
Yay!
All right.
We can't.
We're
Computer.
here. Oh man, yeah. So Ryan, do you want to hit the intro music again?
Welcome to the
Sure,
show
we can
for
redo
real
that.
this time.
Oops. Now we're live, guys. Sorry.
False start.
False start. But we're here.
You want to secure your assets.
We can crack the wallet.
Oh, we've done it before.
We've got rigs, character adversary, attribution mode.
With our private keys combined.
Building some kind of blockchain super weapon.
There's just a number of vulnerabilities that are in the smart contracts.
Math. It's probably secure.
They all secretly mine cryptocurrency.
What coin can I trust? Which one is cryptographically secure? Don't roll your own crypto. CoinSec Podcast.
All right, we're actually here this time. Welcome to the CoinSec Podcast. We accidentally went live in a private channel to start the show out today. So, but now I think we're live. I think we're actually on the internet talking to you guys. We're here, and so if you want to chat with us today, we are in Discord, in our CoinSec Discord, in the live chat channel. Jump in there if you have any questions about any of the stories today. I also posted the show notes in there, so if you want to follow along with any of the articles that we are going to be talking through today. that's the place to do it. So, what's up, guys? Welcome. We've got Steve, Corey, and Ryan here today. How you guys doing?
Oh, I'm
Fantastic.
doing great.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
It's
Awesome.
Friday.
Into,
It's time to go
another great
skiing.
week. Yep, it's Friday. Going
Yeah,
skiing? You said that?
Water
Yeah,
skiing?
I'm going skiing. I don't live in Florida, so not
Oh.
water skiing. We actually have like pointy objects. You wouldn't understand. They go up. It's hard to describe how. Like, imagine if Florida wasn't flat. It's like that.
Yeah.
With
That's hard to
frozen
imagine.
rain, you saying you get on that frozen rain, slide down a mountain?
I don't know how it works.
Well, be safe.
Cool, yeah, and we've also got a little bit of a crypto pump going on today, which is nice. Things are heading a little bit upward.
Yeah, I had to make a few buys, so
Yeah, sweet. Thanks for pumping the bags for us there, Steve.
yeah,
Good job, Steve.
I tried.
So this week we've got some stories. We also I do want to say that while we don't have a ton of stories this week, we do have two very, very big ones that I think will likely take up the majority of the broadcast, as they're some of the bigger hacks that we've seen happen, and so we're going to try to dive into a few of those today. So we've got two. I mean, we're barely just a month into 2022, and we've already got over $400 million worth of hacks that have happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Pretty
small
wild.
amount.
The crypto numbers are so ridiculous. Like in the real world, if you heard that like Chase Bank got hacked and $325 million is gone, I'm pretty sure the stock market would have a field day with that. But like in crypto, it's normal. It's just like, oh yeah, another $300 million hack. Of course.
No, it's why we're still in business, I guess, right?
Still smaller than Poly.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
Yeah. So we've got. I guess we can just start jumping into it. So we've got some hacks to talk about, but we've also got some various attacks that we want to kind of discuss today as well, that are specific to various crypto attacks. All right, so the big one, first up today, the big story that has been making a lot of news is this Wormhole hack. So Wormhole, 120,000 ETH, or roughly $323 million, was stolen from Wormhole.
Another
is
cross-chain
Wormhole?
hack. Yeah.
Yeah, what is Wormhole?
Yeah, so Wormhole's it's a bridge, right? It's it's one of those things that we've been actually seeing a lot of, like these major hacks happen against, right? Like when you have a bridge that actually makes it so it's possible to transfer crypto from one blockchain to another. So like if I wanted to transfer Ethereum to Solana, they have these bridges that allow you or they facilitate that ability to transfer. So this happened, and then Wormhole tried to negotiate a bounty, right? So after the attack, as we've seen in previous hacks, we've seen where they'll send a message via an Ethereum transaction to the attacker's wallet, and in this case, the Wormhole team said, "This is the Wormhole deployer. We noticed you were able to exploit the Solana VAA verification and mint tokens. We'd like to offer you a white hat agreement and present you a bug bounty of $10 million." For exploit details, and returning the wrapped ETH you've minted. You can reach out to us at this email address. So, guys, all right. So I want to walk through each part of this whole story with you guys and just kind of get your thoughts. So, $10 million bounty. What? Just thoughts. What are your thoughts?
I mean, that's got to be the biggest bounty we've ever seen, right? In any like ever. Not just in crypto, but in any cybersecurity, at least publicly. Obviously, who knows how much the FBI is paying for Windows 0 days at this point, but that's a lot of money. And it's clean money, right? I guess we haven't seen the whole, like, hey, take this bounty and you're absolved of all legal. Like, that's not how that works. But we haven't seen anyone get prosecuted for any crypto crimes other than, like, associated kicking down doors for drug dealing and stuff. So I mean, that would be hard not to take that, because especially if it came with the legal, thing that said, we won't go after you. Here's a non-disclosure, all that stuff. Like, that would be tempting. But I guess when you stack it up against 300 million, 350 million, even if you mix the crap out of it, it's still 300 million at least, right? That's so much money. But I mean, either way, it's the biggest we've ever seen, and it's interesting that they tried to make it happen. I mean, it's not surprising, but it's cool. I mean, the numbers go up, right?
Well, and why do they put their message on the blockchain to the attacker? Well, I can think of one reason: they don't have the attacker's email address or phone number, right? They can't just pick up the phone. But
no one claimed
it's interesting
it yet,
to
right?
me, like is the attacker actively like monitoring the blockchain for messages after the hack? I assume now it's kind of a common practice to send messages back and forth, so maybe you do. It's just interesting to me that we're communicating over the blockchain about stealing coins over the blockchain. It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how any of these play out. I mean, we're years past some of these hacks and have no attribution, no way of knowing who it is. But I mean, if I did something like that, I would want to see how people reacted, right? That's kind of part of the fun is seeing, what the fallout is from your attack. But it's
sure, like the out brief on a red team is kind of one of the funnest things that we do, because we get to see the jaws hit the floor and the people react, and then we're like, oh my god, don't worry, we can make it better.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. It's so interesting to watch some of these companies that start fighting for their survival immediately after they get hacked. I mean, because really, if you think about it from their perspective, it's this or nothing, right? If they don't get their funds back, it's over for them probably.
Well, I think Bo will bring it up in a bit, but they kind of recouped their costs somehow. I guess poof, out of thin air. We put the money back. No big deal. Move on with your lives and continue to put money into our contracts. So I think that was kind of interesting aspect of it.
Yeah. So, but all right. So before we get to that part, at what point does a $10 million bounty become like a ransom payment of sorts, or
I think it's immediate. Like as soon as somebody attacks you and you offer them to get your stuff back, it's basically blackmail and a ransom.
You're right. It is ransom. It's not. I think the only difference is that the attacker didn't ask for it. Right. The attacker didn't say, if you give me X amount, I will not keep this 300 mil. But I mean, Steve's right, because the truth is, if the attacker wanted to go in slow and easy, they could have just sent a message and said, hey, I found a bug. Probably I'm not going to exploit it, but I could have stolen $300 million. Now give me money and hope for the best. Right. But that's not what they did. They went, they exploited it for real. And then the company was like, hey, want some money? Like, please, we're nice. Like, please give us the money back. So,
yeah, it's like I said, I think last week, right? You can't walk into your bank and take their money and then come back later. And, well, here's the rest of the money back. Can I have some of it as I prove that your security sucks? No, it doesn't quite work that way. But
no.
Yeah, it's such a weird, like, drawing analogies. It makes no sense. It's like, yeah, you walk into a bank, you notice their vault's open, you walk in, grab 3 bags of money. Then you walk to the front desk and say, hey, I just found these out back. Here, I'll give you these 2, but I'm going to keep this one for finding this huge flaw. I mean, obviously, I will say some of these crypto hacks take significant investment to actually execute, which we'll talk about him minting wrapped ETH, right? How much wrapped ETH did he have to mint to make this happen?
Yeah, so Slegna brought it up in the chat, and this is something that I've seen actually after this hack, and multiple times over the last few episodes we've even talked about, like, how do you liquidate $300 million in ETH or whatever, right? Like, how do you go from the point of having that much crypto to having like a fancy car and a boat and a house,
dude, there's so many ways. That's the thing about crypto. And honestly, I mean, this is somewhat conspiracy theory-ish, but I think NFTs are one of the biggest ways that that's happening, right? Like, some of these NFT sales are just mind-boggling amounts. I mean, think about it like this. If you go buy CryptoPunk, then sell it to some celebrity, and then you cash out, like, it's hard. The attribution gets really difficult. It's like, well, did someone mint this NFT? Where did it come from originally? How did it get purchased? And then how did it, end up turning into real US dollars? Plus like Tornado and all the other mixers. But it's I think it's hard to get 300 million in one go, obviously.
Mm-hmm. A lot of cash out operations, right, at Bitcoin ATMs and stuff.
Yeah, to not raise suspicion, I feel like is difficult from like a federal level. Like if we're talking about assuming they're based in the US, assuming that they're under some, normal, like in a world that people are watching, like the FBI obviously is like, oh, that's weird. This person's income went from 50,000 one year to 500 million or whatever. Like, they probably have bumpers in the system. But I think as far as like turning it, if you did it slowly, I think it'd be trivially easy, to get 10K, 20K out at a time to do whatever you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of funny because typically you associate criminals with stupidity, right? You associate someone who does rob a bank. They're desperate. They're not thinking straight. Like, it's very difficult in today's day and age to rob a bank and not get caught, at least in the States, because of cameras and cell phones and towers and tracking and, facial recognition and all this crazy stuff we can use to trace criminals, DNA evidence, etc. But these crypto hackers are not running into banks out of desperation. They are like, it's intentional and it's skilled, and it's more like they probably have a plan from the very start for how to launder it, how to get it out, or how they're going to spend it, right? So, I mean, I will say more companies participating in the crypto space means more, more avenues. If I can buy a Tesla with crypto, if I can buy, there's so many avenues and it's so difficult to track. Like if I can buy some, I can turn all my money into like Call of Duty market points and then turn those back into cash or whatever, like it's crazy, like all the different venues. And then the FBI or whoever's investigating is going to have to be like, okay, Call of Duty, someone bought 1,000 different NFTs on your platform with 1,000 different accounts and then cash them out. Like they're going to be like, here's the database. Good luck. Like, how do you trace that? I mean, we've talked before on the podcast about attribution in the blockchain space, and it's really, really hard, even just on one chain, like even just on Bitcoin or just on Ethereum. But when you start getting cross-chain and NFTs and all that stuff, man, I can only imagine. They definitely have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, and we've even seen these exploiters, attackers, whatever you want to call them, send these funds to a centralized exchange like Binance or any other centralized exchange. I don't know, but I've seen them go to like Binance and Coinbase and things like that. And then what happens? I know we talk about that being kind of like a focal point or a place where you could, identify these people because of KYC and things like that. But perhaps they're faking KYC, or perhaps there's just no prosecution, no legal avenue of recourse to, or just nobody looking. Right.
Or no laws. I mean, is there a law against having $300 million? No, there's no law against being rich. But
and like
so they have to prove.
They call the local law enforcement to escalate it, and they're like, blockchain, what? What are you talking about? Stole your tokens. Like, what? Well, can you show me one? No, well, it's on this thing that's in the computer. I don't know. So somebody took it. Yeah, how do you prosecute that, and how do you track it down, and which law enforcement agency is actually going to take the time and go do that?
It's one of these things where I expect personally that we won't see a real crypto hack prosecution actually take place until like years from now, when like, we have like judges understand how like pump and dump violates SEC laws or whatever. Like,
but and you have to legitimize it, right? I mean, the government has to say, hey, this is a problem. We're going to tackle this, which it means that they're legitimizing the fact that cryptocurrencies exist and kind of exist to subvert the financial system, right? In a way.
The laws
be your
the
own
laws
bank,
are so behind when you think about it. The law and dude, the other thing that I just thought of is like, if you had 300 million, you could start a pretty solid exchange cryptocurrency, like
your own laundering service. Yeah.
basically, yeah, like you could make tornado cash if you have a liquidity pool of 300K and then like how, or 300 mil, like how, and then I guess like, how do you, can you imagine trying to chase that? It's like if someone walked into a bank, stole funds, and then made that into a company. like they were like, where'd all the money go? Well, they created like Microsoft. Okay. So is Microsoft a criminal enterprise? Like, how does this work? It's so complicated, but so anyway, Bo, tell us how did this happen, man? Is it another flash loan cross-chain exploit? Like, what happened?
So there's a couple interesting elements to this one. So the attacker managed to forge a valid signature for a transaction that allowed them to freely mint 120,000 wrapped ETH. Now, what's interesting though is that the code in this particular vulnerability was actually patched the day that this was exploited. So it was actually written as early as January 13th. And then uploaded to the Wormhole GitHub repo on the day of the attack. Just hours later, the vulnerability was exploited by the attackers. So maybe somebody, like whoever this attacker was, either I saw a little bit of debate about this on Twitter about like whether they either like already had an exploit like ready to go for this, and then because they saw the patch happen, they had to quickly act on it, or they saw it and then quickly tried to decompile the patch and write something, like patch Tuesday versus exploit Wednesday, like we talked about last week.
I mean, obviously this is rampant speculation, as we do often on this show, but I would guess that the attacker had kind of been building up to this over time and had sort of things ready, because if you think about all the pieces that had to fall into place, I doubt they would have been able to like take the patch, reverse engineer it, design an attack that worked, and execute it within a short period of time like that. So I would guess that instead they were aware of this bug. They were kind of monitoring, like, it's kind of like when you have an undisclosed bug, you're kind of monitoring to see if it's going to get patched. You're monitoring their GitHub and seeing like, are they aware of it? Are they aware of it? And then when they caught it, they had to execute. It was like, all right, well, now we're on a forced timeline. That's what I would guess, just based on the complexity of it. But it is always possible. I mean, like we've said, don't do this. Don't patch stuff to your test net and expect people not to exploit it on the main net. It's bad practice in general. So, yeah.
So I think this kind of goes down like the same line I thought as we talked about last week about, or not last week, a couple weeks ago, whenever we saw Polygon silently fork their code, where with everything being public, you have to be able to kind of patch this stuff silently. So
surprise.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a weird.
It's a tough thing
in, right?
for transparency. I get that they want to be transparent. They don't want to fork code and push people onto a new fork, but I also would be. I guess it's like no harm, no foul from their perspective. As an investor, I would be less upset if my money. I would be less upset if there was a hard fork that I didn't know was coming, and it seemed like the chain or the provider was being a little sketchy, but my money's still there, versus my money's gone. So but it becomes kind of an incident response thing, where it's like when you discover a bug like this, you just got to kick off incident response right away and build a war game, like build a plan for how you're going to patch it. Like, just assume once you discover it that it's going to be exploited like today.
Right. Being a hacker myself, I look at GitHub for vulnerabilities in code that maybe I'm attacking. But is this the case where they push the code to GitHub before they deployed the fixed contract, or how would that work? Would you deploy the contract and then push the code, or does the contract actually get auto deployed from the GitHub repo? Where's the time delay and the chance for attack, right? So if the attacker knew that or saw the code get pushed to GitHub, how much time delay is there before the contract's updated and everything's moved over?
So basically, they said they were taking down their network for maintenance while an exploit was investigated. So that happened after the hack. So I guess like as a provider in the space, you have to be able to instant deploy without like publishing the hack on accident. It's like a tough chicken and egg thing because, like you said, if it's CI/CD or whatever, and it takes 30 minutes to deploy, but I think you have to have a way to do it privately, or at least pause trading or pause the contract while the patch is deployed. But that's a tough one. I mean,
Yeah. So, I mean, we can, I guess, dive into a little bit of the technical side of it if you want. I guess like maybe a high level view, but Kevin Felcher on Twitter did a really good analysis of it. Like a really great walkthrough. So basically, the transactions that minted the Wormhole ETH on Solana were triggering this Wormhole function called complete wrapped. And following through that line of transactions, one of the parameters that this function takes is a transfer message, basically a message signed by the guardians that says which token to mint and how much. And then this transfer message contract is created by triggering a function called post_VAA. And one of the things I thought was kind of interesting that he pointed out is that a lot of times these functions in the contract are actually smart contracts themselves. So like you run like the transfer message, or you run the post VAA contract or function that generates a transfer message contract. And then so post VAA checks if the message is valid by checking the signatures from the guardians. So this part here reminds me a lot of the Poly network hack that we talked about, months ago, where you have a set of guardians that check the signatures that are basically saying that a transaction is legit and that an account has what they say they have. So following that, it looks like the post VA actually doesn't check the signatures, but instead there's another smart contract which gets created by calling verify signatures function. One of the inputs to the verify signatures function is a Solana built-in system program which contains various utilities the contract can use. Within verify signatures, the Wormhole program attempts to check that the thing that happened right before this function was triggered was that the SecP256K1 signature verification function was executed. Then the verification function is a built-in tool that's supposed to verify that the given signatures are correct. So the signature verification has been outsourced to this program. The Wormhole contracts used the function load instruction at to check that the SEC256K1 function was called first. So it's a complicated flow here, right? But ultimately,
so that function, the load instruction at function, is that, I assume that's used across multiple chains, right? Or is that a standard function that a lot of people use? It's almost like, it kind of feels to me like a supply chainy kind of attack where someone somewhere published a vulnerability in that function and said this shouldn't be used because it doesn't appropriately check the signature. Then attackers went and figured out all the potential sources that were using that signature, that function that doesn't check the signature, that contract. And then they found out that Wormhole was using it and kind of, investigated, found out about it. When they realized that Wormhole was aware of this and was patching changes, then they hit the trigger. That would be my guess, but man, that's
you
so
might be right because
complicated.
the load instruction at function was actually deprecated prior to this, so it might have been something that tipped them off for sure.
Yeah, like think about it like this: if I find out that DES is weak, I can go and look at all the hashing algorithms that use DES, like NetNTLM v1 or whatever, and then develop attacks against the protocols that use the crypto. It's almost like a supply chain is like the buzzword, but basically you find out there's an issue in the function, you figure out what uses the function, and they can't necessarily patch it immediately because they depend on it. So yeah, that's really complicated attack, but definitely interesting.
Yeah, and when you start talking about this contract calls that contract, maybe it creates this contract, right? And then you start, we see, well, the audit on this contract was complete on this date, but did they test all the tie-ins and things like that, where they're connected, and the other contracts? And then you said they updated the GitHub, so did they test it after that, right? How? Just curious, because we don't see that. It's not that transparent. They don't say, hey, we tested everything and we're deploying a new contract tomorrow. Like Bo said, they just do it.
Yeah, the audit they published was done by
Mhm.
I don't exactly know how that's, and it was published in January of 2021, so almost or over a year ago now. And I guess it's unclear whether that function was vulnerable during the audit, but I don't see in the report, just browsing through it, I don't see that specific function as being called out. So
Right, and maybe that's because it's called from another contract or something like that, right? Tied
yeah.
in, and then if you're just testing the single contract, it might not go with the flow. So
Yeah, I mean it's very supply chainy, right? It's like how many things use Log4j? A lot of things. We don't necessarily know what things do. That vulnerability hasn't really turned out to be such a huge deal, but when you think about formally analyzing all the applications that are using these dependencies, it's just like the contract. Analyzing every function in your environment that would load this contract that has an issue would be difficult. So.
Yeah, so this attacker in this case, you had to deposit in order to have funds to get to pull out. So what they faked was that signature, like Bo was talking about, to fake a deposit. So once they did that, then they could make it look like the Guardians had signed off on that 120K deposit, even though they hadn't, which then allowed them to withdraw that back from
Huge
Ethereum and suck
chunk.
everything
Yeah,
out.
120K ETH or something. So much.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. And this is one, Bo, does it still affect people, or is this like over because it was drained and now they're moving to the new contract?
That's a good question. So I think what happened is they patched it, right? And then the next thing that happened was the parent company, which you kind of alluded to a little bit ago, replenished all the funds. So there's $320 million was stolen. And the parent company, literally a day after the hack, like one day later, was like, you know what? Let's just refill it right back up. And
So, dude, there's so many possibilities with this. Like, so they can't. Can they mint wrapped ETH? Can they do that? Like, I don't even know. Like that, or did they just have all this that they were sitting on? I don't know. It's such a
so this would have had to have been actual ETH, right? Because they're replenishing the pool that converts Solana to ETH. So like basically what happened is on the Solana side, right? Like on the Solana side, the attacker was able to mint wrapped ETH, right? And then they cashed that out in real ETH on the ETH side of the bridge. So yeah, they had apparently 120,000 ETH to replenish the fund.
yeah. That is, I mean,
Maybe Wormhole has just been that fruitful for them, and they just profits, or VC backed and just dumped money back into it.
So I read that they have some sort of like I guess like connection with Robinhood. I'm trying
who jumped crypto.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where I saw that. I think it was in the Verge article. Maybe not. Nope, I guess it wasn't. I saw that in one of these articles that the jump company had some sort of connection with Robinhood, and maybe through that is where the funds came from.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I guess
it's in the Fortune article. So if you look at the show notes, the Fortune article, it says, so where does this crypto fortune come from? One way is via Robinhood market brokerage app. Jump pays Robinhood, and in return, Robinhood sends its clients crypto trades to Jump, which executes them.
Yeah, I mean, dude, even still, like $320 million in Ethereum is a huge amount. I mean, you got to wonder, like, who is running these companies like Jump Crypto? They could just be huge whales, right? They could be people that somehow, some way, either they were mining early on or what, but they somehow have, like, 120K ETH or whatever, just sitting around in a, in an emergency fund. I don't know. I guess it's man, these DeFi programs are so like costly to run. I mean, it makes sense when you think about what they're doing, and they probably make a lot of profit off of all the trades. So I understand why they pay people back, but it's also going to raise some conspiracy theories about, what if they're the hacker? What if
we brought that up a couple episodes ago. Trust, right? After a platform is compromised, do you go back to it? And so I think they were just trying to refill that trust deficit, right? They like, oh my God, all the money's gone. Nobody's going to come back. Well, if we just put money back in there, people will continue to use it. And that might be the case. I'm sure some people will be hesitant to go right back into it, especially since who knows if the new contract they deployed has flaws in it or not, has been audited. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's tough, especially in the DeFi space. I mean, who hasn't been hacked? Who of the big players in the DeFi space haven't been hacked at this point? So yeah.
All right. So next story, we've got Qubit Finance, $80 million hack. So what's funny? I mean, it's not funny. It's not funny at all. I was gonna say what's funny though is that before this major Wormhole hack, this Qubit Finance hack happened, and $80 million is actually the most that we've seen this year so far. And when this happened, I was like, oh my God, like $80 million, that's crazy. But then we had a $320 million hack. But yeah, so this is another bridge hack. So I don't know if you've been following us for a while or not, but there's a theme kind of, right, with
Please
bridge
tell me it wasn't the freaking Guardian signature.
Right?
Was it?
So I actually don't know.
No, it wasn't. It says logical error, malicious input data. Although that is kind of generic sounding, but it would be very funny if it was the same contract that was using the Guardian.
Oh, yeah, that would be bad. So Qubit operates an Ethereum BSC bridge. And essentially what the attacker did is take advantage of a logical error in Qubit Finance's code that allowed them to input malicious data and withdraw tokens on Binance Smart Chain when none were deposited on Ethereum. So initially they offered a $250,000 bounty. Didn't get any response. Then they offered $1 million, and I don't think they haven't. I still don't think they have a response. But yeah, it's another major one to add to the list for this year.
Yeah, and these bridges, like you said, they're targets because they hold so much in funds. Because in order for a bridge to happen to another chain, you have to have a liquidity pool on each side, right? So that's why you saw Solana, and then take it out on ETH on the other side. So it takes a lot of funds to hold it, and then the contracts that run it are very complicated and intertwined between two chains, and it's a target.
So
target.
This one is interesting too because it's the first one that has been a cross-chain or hack, but targeting a chain that's centralized. Like BSC is centralized, right? So I wonder if they hit up Binance and were like, "Hey, can you guys help us?" I wonder if they, obviously you can't be like, "Hey, Ethereum, help us." So I wonder, in this case, if they were like, "Hey, someone just stole a bunch of BSC, can you," or whatever it is, BNB, can you stop these transactions, or can you stop people from extracting? I don't know. I guess it was BTCB. Yeah.
So one thing that I thought was kind of interesting, and this is something that got kind of brought to light recently because of both of these hacks, is some statements that actually Vitalik, creator of Ethereum, made around the security implications of using bridges. So I'll add this tweet into here. I'll paste it in so Ryan can pull it up real quick. And then once he gets that up, then we'll kind of walk through this. But
yeah, it's a long post. It basically, it says why the future will be multi-chain, but it will not be cross-chain.
Right.
He says there's a few fundamental limits to the security of bridges that hop across multiple zones of sovereignty, which I assume means different chains. So he posted, he posted a Reddit comment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what
Which
I was gonna say is that
Yeah.
he talks about 51% attacks, right? And that's something that didn't happen in either of these two cases, but it's an interesting thought, and that's his argument of why bridges are a bad idea in the first place. The fact that like if you were to perform a 51% attack now on just Ethereum, and like suppose you had 100 ETH, and that Ethereum gets 51% attacks, some transactions get censored and reverted. No matter what happens, you still have that 100 ETH. Even if 51% attacker cannot propose a block that takes away your ETH. So like once you start adding in a bridge though, with double spends and being able to like make it look like you have more than is actually there. If I were to like 51% attack ETH, and then go to a bridge and transfer that, that could be potentially catastrophic to the bridge as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, when I exploit these cross-chain attacks, I'm using one chain's trust to exploit another chain and get real assets out of the other chain, right? So I'm like, it's almost like walking into a bank with a bunch of counterfeit bills and saying, I have 100 million I'd like to deposit, and then they deposit it, shows up in your account. Then the bank doesn't have that money because it was counterfeit. So it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. He doesn't really propose a solution, though, right? He doesn't really pose, he says multi-chain is the future, but not cross-chain. So it's interesting. He says cross roll-up apps within one zone of sovereignty are fine. There's a limit to the modular blockchain's vision. You can't just pick and choose a separate data layer and security layer. Your data layer must be security layer. So, yeah, that's
food for thought.
I think a lot of the money is in the DeFi, though. A lot of the money is in the cross-chain bridges. I mean, obviously, the APRs and all that stuff. They are trying to incentivize people to take that risk, and I think that the interest rates, etc., do kind of reflect the risk. Even if people don't necessarily realize that, like staking your funds on these exchanges is like a legitimate risk, and the interest rates reflect that. So. Yeah, I guess think before you stake.
Right. So, all right, let's move on. Next story. So next one we have is an NFT that will steal your IP address.
Is it outbound SMB type attack, or what is this?
Oh man, yeah, dude. Like, think about the
old school meets new school, baby.
No, I think basically what they're doing here is like pointing. I mean, I guess technically you could do this in a number of ways, right? So think if I hosted the NFT on my own storage, right, on my own server, sent it to you, it has to call out, right? Like it has to call out to pick that image up, right?
Yeah, well, it says right there, I realized we could get OpenSea to load HTML pages.
Cross-site scripting. Here we go.
Oh man.
So yeah, why don't you run through this one, Bo?
Yeah. So let's see. Where's a good place to start on this?
I mean, I would say it sounds like So you embed one which includes the symptoms in South Park crossover and surreptitiously collects the viewer's IP and stores it. Animation URL. Interesting.
Oh man, my IP address is on OpenSea.
Right? I don't. I will say this is kind of anti-news. Websites often collect and store visitors' IP addresses. Yeah, I mean, I don't. That's.
Yeah, we saw what was it? One a while back where it was SVG files that were being.
Oh, yeah. So there it says the issue is that OpenSea lets NFT sellers add an animation URL to the NFT's metadata. The animation URL supports HTML files. HTML file in this data grabbing NFT includes a commonly used IP harvesting. So this is more of like a proof of concept, right? It's it's not. I assume that they're not saying, "Oh, we hacked you by getting your IP address." IP address is, not. I mean, for certain people, I will say for high profile people, especially streamers, leaking your IP address can be a big issue because you can be DOSed, you can be DDoSed. But for the average person, it's not like, oh, my IP address is compromised. I need to change all my passwords. But yeah, I mean, I guess it does bring up the conversation, the bigger issue of, as we get more into the NFT space and these providers are competing with, market offerings. One of the market offerings can be more features like the ability to add an animation URL to your NFT. It makes it, you can make it look better. You can make it look cooler. But, that the security implications of that, especially when we get to the point where we're talking metaverse, right? Because when you think about metaverse, it is an NFT is on some level code that gets executed on your on your computer, right? Like if it's a texture that has to load in Call of Duty or whatever, it's still code that has to run in some level. So if I, sell an NFT that has code that exploits a game engine or a metaverse game, it could potentially run code on my system, right? So I guess let's hope that they aren't. I mean, classic. They're designing NFTs with features, not with security. So this is like a trivial example of if you just allow people to embed arbitrary HTML in their NFTs, bad things will happen.
Yeah, can I put a JavaScript dropper in that HTML to then drop a file to your system when you load the NFT?
Right? Yeah, probably.
Browser with beef.
Probably,
Yes.
and then just put it as an airdrop, and you're good to go, man. People will run it. I mean,
Yeah.
man, I think that's just the. If you're an NFT designer, especially if you're a marketplace, please consider the security of the features you're adding, and consider especially when we get to the whole like metaverse thing, where I have a metaverse runner on my computer that is running code from the NFTs. That's I guess I need to build a new PC for the metaverse. I can't access the metaverse from anywhere. But yeah, I mean that's, I don't know, classic. This is a classic, kind of an anti-news thing, but does kind of, where there's smoke, there's fire. If I can just embed arbitrary HTML, what else can I do? Like Steve said, can I do JavaScript? Can I do, can I just do an outbound SMB connection? So
cool. Moving on. So the next story we have is phishing with token approvals. So this is an interesting one. So we've, over the last, few episodes, we've talked about people losing NFTs due to like various issues. Having a Discord compromise, or like having the OpenSea issue where like you go to transfer an NFT back that you previously had listed and then it gets sniped. This particular issue, however, is a case of phishing, and a victim of a phishing attack basically lost $2.7 million in Bored Ape NFTs and derivatives. So basically what happened is this NFT collector, Larry Laliette, lost 7 Bored Apes and a set of other NFTs to a suspected social engineering attack. The perpetrator appeared to trick Laliette into signing fake transactions that granted them access to his NFTs. They then used this access to transfer the NFTs to their own wallet. So this is actually a really, really interesting attack. What happened is this person was in a Discord that was about to do a new mint. They were about to create or have an NFT drop. That Discord got hacked. So that was the Moshi Mochi Discord. That Discord got hacked. The attacker posted a fake minting page, right? And just like we've talked about multiple times on this show, people are like chomping at the bit to mint things, and so this person saw that and they went to go mint. Except what happened next is not only did during the mint process did they send ETH, right? That's like what happens a lot of times, right? It's like they'll hack a Discord and then you'll just get scammed for the ETH, right? Like it'll just have a fake mint page where you submit a transaction attempting to mint something to a fake page, but in fact you just don't get anything, right? Like that's one kind of like way of doing this particular scam. However, this particular attacker went way deeper and actually coded in logic to create what are called token approvals on certain contracts. So the thing that's kind of crazy about smart contracts is that you can actually give a contract an allowance to spend tokens on your behalf. And whenever you like sell something on OpenSea, whenever you trade a coin on like a swapping protocol, generally what happens is you have to submit a transaction that gives that contract the approval to transact on your behalf. So, and most of the time, and actually, like we were talking about with Hall last week, that approval is generally set to everything. It's like approved for all, meaning like all your coins of this particular type. So that, for the sake of gas fees, you don't have to go back and approve every single time.
Right.
So a lot of people are, they're used to just approving their allowance for all. So this particular attacker set up multiple different approval transactions, but directed them at the Bored Ape Yacht Club contract, directed it at the Doodles contract, directed it at the Mutant Ape Yacht Club contract. And because this victim approved each one of those transactions, the attacker's wallet, the attacker's account, was able to transact and call those transfer functions from the actual original contracts because they had approval. And yeah, go ahead.
So did the attackers have to know ahead of time what tokens were in that wallet so they could call the appropriate contracts?
That's a good question. I mean, I imagine, just like any anything we would code on an engagement, like you could easily code in logic to say, okay, what is the account that's about to send a transaction to me? And does that account have, something from this list of contracts, right?
Sure. Yeah, you'd have to give it a list probably, huh?
Yeah, I feel like you just pick the most expensive ones, right? I mean, you pick
right, but what happens? So what happens though if I don't own a Bored Ape, right? And I get a transaction approval that is directed towards the Bored Ape contract, then I'm going to get a failed transaction, which is kind of like. So
I guess that's fine. You're selecting out the people that you don't care about attacking anyway. Plus, you probably already got their ETH, right? I mean, I think this is a good example of why, if you have $2.7 million, you should probably use multiple wallets.
Yeah.
Don't have all your eggs in one basket. Like, it's not that hard to, logically. I mean, I understand people are new to the crypto space, and I guess even in the traditional space, though, who has a bank account with 2.7 mil, right? You spread it out. So, yeah, I mean, that's rough, though. I mean, I guess it is funny. Like, I was looking at maybe some transactions over the weekend, and like, man, the NFT transactions just go on forever, and it's really hard to like really read them through. It's so much to approve and so much to browse through. I get why people are just spamming like approve. So, but yeah, I mean, keep your wallets offline. Don't.
Yeah. So, I mean, so it's such a weird space to be in because there's times where people they want to be on like certain whitelists or whatever, right, for different projects, and a lot of those projects they do their whitelisting based off of you having specific NFTs in a wallet. Right. So I don't know if Mochi did this or not, but a lot of times they'll be like, oh, people who own Bored Apes are on the whitelist, or people who own Doodles are on the whitelist, right?
Yeah.
And
but
so
you have to go
tough,
sign and approve for them to read your address, right, or to read your wallet, and that's where that approval comes in. Then they say all, right?
Yeah. And so like that, the thing that's bad about that in that this model is that it kind of forces people to keep certain NFTs that are expensive in a wallet that they use to mint stuff too. Like you would think like logically you would have like a vault basically wallet that you don't ever use that to mint things. You don't use that to transact. You just like you have your minting wallet. So if something like this happened, minimal risk, right?
Yeah.
You don't have anything in it. And then you would transfer off to like, another place, like you were saying, Corey, like split it up.
Man, I feel like the market is ripe for someone that kind of, I mean, I'm thinking of like Keybase or something like that, where you can verify multiple wallets and have them kind of all tied to your profile, right? Like, I'm not sure if like Looks or other marketplaces have this, but really, if I have one account on one of these exchanges like OpenSea or whatever, I should be able to sign transactions from as many wallets as I want and have as many of these resources, right? And same with Discords, etc. I get why they don't do that because it's a disaster, like you said, to have. It's much easier to program for one wallet address. Is this person like this person is tied to this wallet address? But that's like, that's not blockchain. That's not like how it, really. If I have 1,000 wallets, I should be able to sign, prove my ownership of all those things, and that's what the blockchain is really built to do. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just the code kind of lags behind, like you said, and I will say it is also. I don't know why they. I get why they do the whole like, oh, if you have this NFT, you can get this NFT, but it's kind of like, I don't know, kind of, I think a little bit stupid. Like, why not? Why restrict act? Like, are you trying to build just these whales? I don't know. I don't super get it. Like,
Yeah,
it's incentive on one hand, but
there's a lot of reasons around it. And I think like from what I've seen, a lot of times it's really just to avoid gas wars with public sales.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at any of like the big NFT projects, there's just these crazy gas wars, and we've talked about them. Like we're gonna spend like $3,000 in gas just to try to beat
Right.
other people, right?
But
Like,
they
try
can
to
do a
front run them.
sweepstakes, right? They can randomly give it them away.
Yes.
Not, you don't have to, there's a lot of ways to manage that distribution, and it doesn't have to be gas wars,
Yeah, I agree. And I definitely think the like almost lottery model, like what you're saying, is a better option. Like where basically you submit an address, but more than that, because with Ethereum, like you can create as many addresses as you want, right? And you could easily go like submit like 10,000 addresses and then get a
Right.
lottery.
Yeah. Well, that's why they're. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's centralized, which goes against everything. But like, you have an account. You can have as many wallets as you want, but you can't have the same wallet on multiple accounts. Yeah. I mean, it is. You're right. There are some issues. There are some like, because you can just generate infinite wallets and you can probably generate infinite accounts. I guess there's ways to just verify based on phone number, email, or as you add barriers to entry, people will be less likely to be able to exploit the system. Or I don't know, make it like, oh, you have to, be exist for more than 30 days, or I don't know, whatever. Like, I think it does more than anything. It plays into the culture of NFTs, which appeals to rich people because rich people love exclusivity. They love like, oh, you couldn't get into the country club, I could, so that's for you. Like, right? That's what these NFTs are at the yacht club. I mean, where did yacht club come from? That's like rich people central, right? And they don't want the poors getting into their yacht club, so it's like the whole idea that I'm owning this thing that lets me do other things. It's like, oh, well, I'm not in the country club just to play golf. I just want to rub elbows with rich and famous in my zip code or whatever, right? Like, it's a cultural thing. I get why they do it, because I think that's partially what appeals to people who are dropping, because some people out there are dropping real US dollars to get these Bored Apes or whatever, and they're not in the crypto space. They didn't mine it. They didn't mint it. They didn't.
OpenSea, you can use a credit card right on there, right? Just go buy one. You don't have
celebrities.
Dropped 500 ETH last week.
Yeah, exactly. And I bet you that money came from record sales. Yeah,
on a floor Bored Ape, like one that's actually worth like 100.
Dude, I mean,
I think it was to make a statement, basically like
it is,
like
and that's what
he doesn't give a shit if it's like the most rarest Bored Ape. He just
that's exactly
say, like, oh, that's the one I wanted,
and that's why. But I guess I really have trouble feeling bad for this guy for so many reasons. But yeah, it does suck. I mean, when you're approving transactions and approving token approval, I mean, just like we've said many times on the show, review your token approvals regularly. Don't make sure that you don't have approvals set to outside your purview, and definitely don't approve ETH transactions. Don't approve outbound Like, you don't need to send ETH to mint something. I don't know. Send ETH to some random wallet. I don't know. It's crazy, man.
All right, we got a few more attacks here to talk about. So we got SMS phishing attacks. So Binance CEO CZ sent out a warning, basically saying there's a new phishing scam via SMS with a link to cancel withdrawals. It leads to a phishing website to harvest your credentials. So this is something like, if you're getting random text messages saying that a withdrawal has happened, and you see like a random, website, it's probably not a good idea to follow that.
Mm-hmm. We do that on our offensive engagements, right? We'll send a phish that says, hey, there's been some suspicious activity on your account, or did you log in from this, IP range or wherever, go verify and click this link, and then they go log in to verify, and now we've got their credentials or multi-factor or whatever, right? So yeah, it happens in the crypto space too.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. I will say, I think a lot of the exchanges, having used a lot of them, they depend way too much on text messages. And it's so cringe when I get my 2-factor codes and text messages, and they're like, "Oh, you want to use something else? All we support is Authy," and I'm like, So yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's for sure. It's one of those things. Never trust anything that is sent directly to you. Always find your own way to the thing.
So the next one, Steve, you posted this one in Discord a bit ago. The $5 wrench tax appeared to be on the rise.
$5 wrench attack. Yeah. So basically, somebody finds out you're fat with some Bored Ape stacks, and they come hit you on the head with a wrench and take your phone and have your Bored Apes. Basically, it's a physical attack, right? It's what we would call a black bag attack. They come, they basically threaten you, take your money, or hold you for ransom. I think we've covered a couple of these in the past. So it's
there's another one. Yeah, there's another one today about a kid drugging his dad.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean,
so don't
it goes
flaunt
without
it,
saying.
right? You got
Yeah.
it. Don't be out there. I'm not going to go down to 7-Eleven bodega over here on the corner with a fat stack of $100 bills and walk in and be like, all right, well, what am I buying today? You want, let me get this bag of Doritos for $3,000 because I'm going to overpay for this Bored Ape, right? And show that I'm fancy. Right?
I mean, it's
be
interesting.
Smart. Be smart with your money.
The NFTs, though, they encourage people to share, right? It's encouragement. Like, I guarantee you there's someone right now printing out vinyl stickers of their NFTs and putting them on their car. Someone is doing that. Like, someone is making a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT car. It's happening. Like,
no, that's already a thing, dude.
Oh yeah, so exactly, yeah. Like, but man, that's and I mean,
Bo looks outside. He's like,
No, he's like, that's already a thing.
No, so they just did a competition. They made a mobile app game. So the Bored Ape Yacht Club made a mobile app game, and one of the prizes was a let me see if I can find the picture real quick because it's hilarious. So there's Bored Apes and mutants, right? So there's the two different ones, and the mutant prize. The main prize, if you won on the mutant side, was a converted 2002 Honda Accord decked out in Macy regalia. Performance not great, smell bad.
Dude, I mean, it's just like driving around in a Ferrari. Everyone knows, either you're a drug dealer or you have more money than brains. It's like it's. Keep a low profile if you do have $300 million sitting in a wallet,
well, especially at public events, right? You go to Bitcoin 2022, don't flash your stuff. You're not going to go with your hardware wallet. Look, I got all my Bitcoin on my Trezor. It's right here, and they're just like, oh, really? Well, why don't you get in this van?
Oh, you haven't seen those like designer ledger wallet cases?
Oh
no,
my
they
God.
like blend
you haven't
in
seen
like
those?
it's a rock.
Dude,
they
so there's a company, I can't remember what they're called. There's a company that is a designer like ledger wallet case, and it's like got like was
Gems.
it bedazzled or whatever?
Oh my god, dude! The other thing that's just so funny is that the crypto space is almost designed to be pseudo anonymous. Like no one cares. Like it's just so funny that like people can't help but show off, right? Like I understand, I get it. Like if I got rich, if I won the lottery, the hardest part would be not telling anyone. Like you know what I mean? Like I understand it, but like, man, that is a tough one. Don't. And it's funny because if someone mugs you at gunpoint, what do you lose? A couple credit cards, maybe a couple $100 you had in your wallet, whatever. Maybe even your car, maybe. But like, dude, or like, let's say you walk me to the ATM with a gun. My bank only lets me withdraw $500 at a time a day, and like you have to mug me every day to get more than $1,000. So like, but in the crypto space, if I'm like approve the transaction, it could be like $500 million. So yeah, it's hard. I mean, I guess don't put all your. I mean, I guess if you, that's tough. So what is this about the kid drugging his dad? I want to see this. How do you drug your dad?
So a Maryland resident spiked his father's tea with drugs in order to access his cryptocurrency account, which held $400,000 worth of Bitcoin. So I have a lot of questions about this, right? Like, so first off, his account. So are we talking about like on a Coinbase or something? You know, like
benzos. He gave him the old benzos. Knocked him unconscious. After he passed out, he used his phone to move $400,000 of Bitcoin into an account he could control. He later converted those. What? He went 60% to ETH? Bad move, dude. No, he forgot about Tornado Cash. Yeah, I mean, that's really sad. I assume he was convicted, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, so benzo and cocaine.
So wait, you skipped over. You skipped over. How did the kid get? What happened? The kid got caught.
Yeah, how did he get caught?
Okay, so I'm gonna give you the best retirement and a note he left back for his father. A friend called the police, who found him unresponsive. He took 4 days to recover. Jesus, man, that kid must have gone hard with the benzos.
Yeah.
The guilt and the shame. Okay, and then it says he was too emotional to attach to his crypto holdings, his son's use of drugs, which include benzos. Yeah, so yeah, that's man.
Well, I mean, so it's a sad story for one thing, but at the same time, it's like, protect your crypto use. What I mean, God, what did he? I don't know. Was his phone not locked?
Well, dude,
was it the iPhone? You had to use a retina, so he drugged him out and then opened his eyes and held his phone in front of his face.
So that won't work ever. That never with iPhone. You have to be your eyes have to focus. You have to, like it's a whole face. You wouldn't be able to get an unconscious person's face to unlock their phone with Face ID.
Have you tried?
No comment.
I have a feeling yes.
But you can with a fingerprint or a code. So, I assume it had to be some biometric, fingerprint thing. But yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting conundrum. I mean, I assume it's,
hide the drugs, hide the Bitcoin.
It is very sad.
Gersoni's father, whose name has not been published, recalled being told by his son that he was too emotional and too attached to his crypto holdings.
Warning. Yeah, I'm going to drug you.
So does it cover whether he got the money back? It says that the kid ended up in a halfway house.
I don't know. I would assume so. I mean, I'd hope so, at least.
It doesn't have a result. We don't get a nice little Disney ending where the kid, everyone lives happily ever after. But
can't trust anyone, man.
I will say, I mean, I will say, if you're, if you don't trust someone, don't drink. I don't know, man. That's it's your kid. Like that's tough when it's your kid. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that was the last news item. I know Steve wanted to bring up getting started with blockchain security testing.
Yeah, so we get new users here, new people watching the videos and everything, and sometimes like to circle back on the stuff that we've done before. We should see at the bottom of the Notion a link to start.blockchainhacks.com. So if you want to get involved in learning how to test, smart contracts and learn about deploying smart contracts and all that good stuff, how to interact with them. This is a great site that Bo put together where you can go from setting up your own VM to getting your Ganache client set up, MetaMask wallet to test with, your IDE, Truffle to deploy, and how to actually scan and do some vulnerability scanning. If you click on that bottom one, oh yeah, you also get a nice link to Bo's webcast, but the vulnerability scanning one, that'll give you the tools that you need to go and scan some contracts. So step by step. It's a great resource if you want to get started in it. And if you have questions, feel free to shoot us questions in the Discord. Happy to help out at any point. So we just want to kind of give back to the community. And we know that some of you are interested in just how do I get started? What do I got to learn to program and all that? And you can get started on this site. You probably won't learn how to program Solidity, but we'll at least tell you how to run some tools and look at some vulnerabilities and things like that. There's some vulnerable contracts in there to play with. So
you're telling me I'll get a 100K bug bounty day one?
You never know, right?
When you're ready, you won't need to.
Yeah.
Get an $80 million bounty or whatever.
Yeah, and if you do find one, don't feel the need to drain the whole contract and steal all of my funds in order to prove your point. Just make a small transfer to alert the team that you've done it if you haven't already alerted them ahead of time.
With all these hacks, I think the safest investment is just Tornado Cash.
Is there a Tornado Cash pool I can invest in to just earn rewards off of every time Bo steals some crypto and funnels?
It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny because one of the worst pools that I ever invested in was a Tornado. It was on 1inch. It was a Tornado and ETH. So it's pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, it's been a good show. I'm actually kind of surprised that we went this long with the number of articles. We had a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-22, good and the bad. If we don't have a lot of articles for the week, that means that most of you still have your funds in your pockets, right?
All right.
So
well,
we come on here and we got the lights going and the sirens.
Man.
It's there's trouble. So.
Mm-hmm.
If the crypto hacks get bad enough, we just won't have a show because we'll all be recovering our funds.
Or we'll have to start throwing like a donation link or something.
A donation link. When Bo's NFTs get stolen, they must be returned.
Yep.
Or we just start our own NFT. There we go.
Too
NFTs
soon.
of our own like voices or something. I don't know. Talking
like trading cards.
Yeah, there we go. Awesome. All right. Well, it's been good, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Definitely jump in our Discord. Throw some content in there. Like if you guys have any questions, any articles you guys want us to cover, that kind of stuff, throw it in. And we would be more than happy to cover it. So with that, I'm going to end the stream and we'll catch you all next week.
Bye.
Cool. Stay safe out there.